Mighty God, I ask for your direction. I ask for health and strength. Mighty God, I pray that those who are on their way coming, Lord God, you'll give them journeying mercies. Father, strengthen us, Heavenly Father. Open up our learning capacity as we go along and guide us in all our consultation. These and other mercies we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you very much, member. At this time, we ask for the apologies. Dr. Member Brown Burke, Member Anne-Marie Vaz, Member Guy, all sent in their apologies. They're not going to be at this meeting. Member Charles would have sent an apology for lateness. Let me welcome us all. This meeting was called to discuss the findings of the both visits to South Camp Road Correctional Juvenile Facility and the Rio Cobre Facility. On one occasion, myself and Member Crawford would have visited the South Camp. On the second occasion, myself and Dr. Charles would have visited the Rio Cobre facility. It would be pleasing if either of two would have been here so that we could discuss what we saw, what we heard. Our clerk of the committee, Madam Brandon, would have been there. She would have taken notes and she would have put together a summary of what we saw, what we heard on both occasions. She would have circulated to both members a hard copy, and in short order she will be sending a soft copy to the other members for their own perusal. The meeting really is to create a report to Parliament on our findings. And so we will have to discuss the matter at length. There are some other questions that on the invitation of the personnel from the correctional services, they would have had some questions to be answered. There are still some questions that are not answered, but in visiting both correctional facilities, we would have gotten an enlightenment of some of the things that we need to get answers to. Notwithstanding all of that, we still have some questions that are outstanding, and we await to have those questions answered at another meeting. Today, the meeting should have been to formulate a report. The mere fact that we do not have the other members who were a party to the visit, I don't know if the members who are reading through, if they would want to deliberate on the matter, or that we seek to get other members in the meeting at a later date for a more wholesome discussion. What says us?
Chairman, I think that other persons who would have gone to visit should have been here for us to really get a real true picture of what took place. Myself and member, we weren't at that site. And so, but it's just what we would have gotten here in front of us, which I've seen. I have not read everything, but based on where I would have reached just now, I see where some questions need answers to some questions.
Okay, Member Wright. Member Philip.
Thank you, Chairman. I concur with Member Wright as well and yourself in that it would be great if some of the people who were on the actual tour was here. I have to make an apology because I was not able to go on any of these dates, but hopefully in the future I will be available. I noticed you, Chairman, went on the Rio Cobre, was it? So it would be good if you could tell us your experience. But, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I could share my experience on both occasions, because I can tell you that being on the outside, you'd have a mindset as to what is on the inside. But believe me, when you get on the inside, you realize that it is totally different in many aspects as to what happens on the inside. The educational program that is practiced on the inside, it is for what it is, that the wards that are there, that they tweak an educational program to suit the situation. Because you find, from my observation, there are many, even though they may have the age of attending high school, their learning ability is still at a primary stage or less. And it strikes me that in this day and age that we have situation like that, but it is what it is. There are room for improvement in all aspects, both in infrastructure-wise and the programs that are practiced on the inside. Be reminded that it is a facility, a state facility, that speaks to rehabilitation of youngsters who found it unfortunate that they would end up in that situation. But my take on it is that at the end of it, it is rehabilitation and reintegration. And so both has to go hand in hand with the situation. And so government has a vested interest to the responsibility of our children. And not because they may or would have done something that would cause them to be taken away from family and society, so to speak. We still cannot, or I should say at this time, it is where they need us most. What stood out for me at South Camp, where it was all females, is that one young lady who said to us that she has another 4 months and 11 days to go to her time being spent in the facility. Member Crawford would have said, what is it that you plan to do with your life? And without hesitation, she would have replied, I am going, not want to, I am going to be a lawyer. And so you would have seen where something good is coming out of the situation, because at least it is getting her and others to think acceptance in society, to think contributing to society. We would fast track the situation over to Rio Cobre. And this is where I promised them that I would make representation as a member of parliament and chairman for the HR committee, that I would seek the support of my fellow member, one member, Philip Henriquez, that we would seek out any agency or any entity who could afford to sponsor a set of musical instruments, because, and let us welcome Member Charles, who was right there at Rio Cobra last Friday, and our heart went out to the youngsters, because here is it, there was this youngster from Alpha Boys Home who thought it best to give of his service to nation building and would have volunteered his service to Rio Cobra in the way of music. And so he would have, with just a small keyboard, you would have gotten the boys them to start to write their own music and to put the lyrics to a beat. And they gave us a redemption of a song, Peace of Mind. To this day, it is still in my mind. And it speaks volume. The message that they were sending through that song to us as a society, as a nation, was that they too want peace of mind. And they are willing to accept the fact that they have done something wrong. And out of the whole situation of peace of mind, they now want to be ambassadors to say to youngsters, there is another way. There are other ways, rather than taking the way that they have took to be in the position that they are. And it was, trust me, it was one of the most powerful songs that I've heard thus far. There's a message, and so I promised them that I would see how best that we could lobby any or one agency that would afford the situation. I also would love for civil societies, other groups, corporate society, to pay a visit to these facilities, because sometimes it is born out of many an unfortunate situation why they're there. And it's not that they continue to be hardened situations. They would have come to realize their mistake and really want to make amends. And so we would love for civil society to visit with them, allow them to understand that at the end of a term, at the end of some time, they are going to be reintegrated into society. And so, I mean, at least get them to start to practice, not only by the state, who would have, through the employees, the wardens and caregivers, who is working assiduously to get them to understand, but also to have outside unstructured visit to say to them, we are waiting on you to accept you, but you must be rehabilitated to integrate or to reintegrate into society. But in all, it was very much an eye-opener, very, very much. We saw the need for quite an extensive amount of rehabilitation, not only to the youngsters, but to the facility itself. When we were at Rio Cobra, they were doing some rehabilitation, so refixing of structures within the facility. It is an ongoing process, but I also would love to see the Ministry of Agriculture getting involved with them just the same through the 4-H club or whatever programs that can be introduced to them at that age in those institutions, because there are in Rio Cobre quite an amount of lands that are left idle, that are assigned to the facility that can be used. We saw a little makeshift rabbit hut, and the boys were learning how to tend to rabbits. They have a chicken coop also, and it came to mind that here it is. They can start to practice eat what you grow and to grow what you eat. So I can now ask Member Charles to just to add her piece, because she was very, very, very active on Friday with the words.
Afternoon. Thank you, Chairman and members. Afternoon. Yes, we had a very eye-opening visit to Rio Cobre. I truly enjoyed my time there with the young men. I was very impressed with the dedication of the staff and how much they welcomed us and how much they were willing to explain to us things that were needed. Even as we entered, we noticed that the asphalt on the ground was not there, and it was holes, and one of the officers were saying that it was so difficult just to traverse that area by foot. And so assistance for just some shingle and those basic things. I think a lot of what we saw are things that are easy to fix. Just they're very basic, some of the things. But there is some deep infrastructure that's also needed. I was very impressed with the suicide watch ward. I didn't say that at the time, but to be able to have it the way the glass was, that was really good, because you could actually see everything. And so I was impressed that they took that into consideration, because mental health is huge, and some of the reasons why we have so many juvenile delinquents is because of their state of mind, whether it's with drugs or how they're born or their environment. So I loved the fact that there's so many different courses, and they have a strict day schedule on a regular schedule. I enjoyed the food. We got to sample some of their work. They're involved with 4-H clubs, and we got some sweet potato pudding and some pumpkin and peanut, not juice, Chairman. It was very thick. I think it was what do you call it? Punch. Yes, Chairman. It was a punch, and you had them with peanuts and without. So I did enjoy my time with them. I realized that the children in our society that end up in these facilities, they need love. And I took the time out. I asked for permission to just give them a motherly hug, because rehabilitation is critical for our youth. And I was also extremely impressed with the new chaplain that they have, and that they have a chaplain every single day there, that they even rotate, because that's important as well. So it was a very good trip for us to be able to see things through their eyes, and to be there, and to be able to advocate for things that they need. So I'm glad that I made that trip. I'm sorry that I missed the earlier one, but I'm glad that I made that trip. Thank you.
Okay, sounds like experience.
It was an experience, trust me.
Yeah, those are some great suggestions and things you're talking about, because I did notice there was extra land and they're not using it, so the Minister of Agriculture could join in that and help. But we will try on the musical instrument side and find somebody that can work with us there. But one question I wanted to ask, Chairman, is that is there a tracking thing that when these young people go through the system, what happens to them when they have to leave?
That was one of the questions that was asked by all of us, and the answer to that was that there was not a formal tracking system, because once they would have come to the facility, they would have served the time by law, and so it would really the child diversion department that would have to do that type of activity. So it's not within the correctional service itself. Because I too had asked a question, because listening to the youngsters and what they were saying to you, it opens up the emotion to say, okay, I would really love to see this child 3 years from now, when they would have already out of this facility 2 or so years, to see if what they have said to us is really what they work towards, or is just a matter of saying it because they are there now and know that we are there to get information.
Yeah, sorry. Can I, one quick thing?
I wanted to add
you
to
go
that
ahead.
for you that though there's no tracking system officially, for some of the courses, like for even the auto course, they're coordinating with heart, and so if they don't get their certificate there, they're turned over to heart. So heart kind of can keep tracking on some of those there. So there is some minor, but it's not official because they're no longer children of the state.
So there are programs, as Member Charles was saying, for the auto mechanic that is taught in Rio Cobra, the male facility. The time that once you're there, then you have to become a part of their program. And so one of the program practice is auto mechanic. They are in partnership with Heart, in which if you are there long enough for you to go through the program and to be certified there, then yes, you will be certified there. But if your time spent is shorter than the time that is required, then they will assist you, or you can now sign up with Heart on the outside to complete the program. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, at what age do they leave from the facility? And I need to ask just a few more questions. And, I heard you mention earlier that some of these children that are there, their learning ability is a bit slow. And if so, then what can be done? Or is there any plans to put measures in place to help to build their learning?
Also, you're asking two questions in one.
Yes.
What the age group? Mm-hmm. I think it is 18. On your 18th birthday, you would have to be out of that because it's a juvenile facility.
Right.
So on your 18th.
All right. So for those, because remember now, having them hosting them there, it simply means that when they are 18, they would be out. I would imagine then that some of them maybe their parents maybe is dead. You understand what I'm saying? So if so, do the government have plans so that they don't just leave out in the open?
It's a hard one because we did not ask that question, but I suspect that the state is responsible for you whilst you are there. And so if once you have to leave, then you have to go back. Family members have to take you in as much as possible.
Can I just add to your question there, sir? Because that was one of my concerns. But in that, when the person is finished, they're just, I didn't know if there was any kind of process or who they could speak to, because it's kind of the same reason they got in there in the first place. When they finish, if they're there for a year, maybe 6 months, hopefully not long, what happens to them after that? They just back in society under what conditions? Who's helping? How can they get their careers going if there's no family? So similar, thank you. Just
members were getting a wrap-up signal, one. But to be quick on the situation is that remember, it is not the state that just take the wards into the facility. It has to be done through the court system. And so the court will take into consideration the time that is allotted for the situation. I don't want to say crime, but this situation as it is. Programs are, as we said before, and if you read through the passage that was given, page 7, the second paragraph, or well, the entire page, it speaks to many of the different music class, the auto mechanic class, the manual labor. So it speaks to the variety of things, of programs that are within the facility. I can tell you we were treated to the home economic department, and myself and member Charles, we did enjoy the home economic department. So they are good. There are a lot of good coming out of the situation, because as I said before, it is really about rehabilitation, reintegration. I know it is a very hot topic to be debated and discussed, and so we will take our break now because of the wrap-up time that we are getting. We will ask that you have gotten a copy of the minutes, that the minutes be confirmed at the meeting held on the 20th of September, that we confirm the minutes now before we take the wrap-up.
Chair, as you said, I think Member Charles and yourself were here for that meeting present. They should confirm, somebody from the meeting should confirm, and I will second.
I can confirm.
So the minutes confirmed by Member Charles, seconded by Member Phillips. Matters arising, we will move matters arising from the minutes to the next minutes to be discussed. New business also is a discussion of the facility, which we started to delve into, found it very acceptable and wanting to hear more, and so we'll make sure that becomes the first item at our next meeting. Sorry? Yeah. So at the next meeting, we'll be taking the report, but even then, we still can share some more of our experience at the next meeting. But we're looking forward to have the report to be read and ratified so that we can move it to the places that it should or ought to be at. All right? So at this time, this meeting now stands adjourned.
News just in. One man shoved him brother in a one mango tree for one dumpling and him pop up. The victim pinch it